protectors of the Sunnah, Sunnah followers, protectors of the Sunnah.
Ina alhamdulillah wa salat wa salamullah wa rasulullah. Welcome to another session of our Hadith class, and we are studying the Hadith from the book entitled 55 Hadiths on Islamic Discipline and Behavior. And I'm trying to open it up so you guys can see. Okay, yeah, this is it. I was going to say, I know I did the PowerPoint. Oh, let's make it bigger. And move this out the way. Okay, and this is this hadith deals is addressing how as Muslims we're supposed to show respect towards our parents. And when we talk about our parents, it doesn't matter if your parents are Muslim or non-Muslim. Islam emphasizes how we're supposed to be respectable. The only time, let me stress this, the only time you can break a tie with your relative, especially your parents, is if your parents are enemies to Islam, or if your parents hate Islam to the point where they oppress you whenever you come around them as a Muslim. That's the only time you can cut ties with them. Okay, and so other than that, you have to maintain that relationship with your parents. Let's look at the hadith. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said a son cannot ever repay his parent what he owes them unless he were to find them in slavery and buy them and free them. So in other words, the parents, this is why it doesn't matter if they're Muslim or not. They bore, your mother bore you in her womb. She birthed you. Her and your father cared for you when you couldn't care for yourself. They raised you, they nurtured you. There's nothing we can do to pay them back for what they did bringing us in this world. So that is why we as Muslims have to show respect towards them. And we have to, always be lower the wing, which means show mercy and be kind towards them. So there's a lot that we learn from this hadith. For example, we learn that our parents have the greatest right upon us, and we will always be in their debt. So being dutiful to them comes second after believing in Allah. You want to get to paradise, you have to believe La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah and be firm in that. And you have to honor your parents. Being good to them is the way to paradise. And your parents have rights over you. So this is a wonderful hadith for us to be reminded of, especially when we're dealing with parents who get on our nerves. Because a lot of us have twisted relationships with our parents. This is the way Shaitan works. Shaitan knows that the kinship is under the throne of Allah. So Shaitan is going to do everything in his power to get us to sever that tie, because he knows anyone that severs the tie of kinship will never enter paradise. So we have to resist Shaitan when he comes to us and tries to make fitna between us and our parents. We have to learn to overlook their mistakes, overlook their anger, overlook them. We have to just lower our wing to them, be merciful to them, and just let it go, rather than to argue with them, disrespect them, curse them, hurt them, go without speaking to them. This is something that Shaitan will try to make us do. He wants us to go without speaking to our parents. I want you guys to understand one of the most misconstrued hadiths is the hadith that says where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said a believing Muslim would never go 3 days without speaking to his brother. That hadith does not mean that if you get mad, you have 3 days. No, the Prophet was talking to a companion who had not spoken to his Muslim brother in 3 days because they got into an argument. The Prophet told him, what is wrong with you? Don't you know that you are a Muslim now? As Muslims, we don't do that, because the Arabs, when they would get into arguments, they would go without speaking. The Prophet said, you are a Muslim now. We don't do that. We never go without speaking to our brother. We don't allow our anger to push us to the point where we cut the tie with one another. A believer wouldn't go a day, he wouldn't go a second without salaming and talking to his brother. That's the story behind that hadith. That hadith does not mean give me my 3 days. And a lot of us think it does. So we got parents. You and your mother may get into an argument. So your mother say, I'm not going to answer the phone for 3 days from you. This is haram. Or you get mad and say, I'm not going to talk to my mother for 3 days. Astaghfirullah. This is haram. You are never supposed to allow shaitan to cause you to become that angry where you cut the tie with another Muslim. Because what happens if you die? What happens if you walk out that door, slip and fall and bust your head and die? And you done cut the tie with your mother for a day or 2 days or 3. Or you done cut the tie with your Muslim brother or sister for 1 day, 2 days, or 3. That means you are denied paradise. Y'all see how shaitan wants us to misconstrue the meaning of those hadiths? Shaitan is doing everything in his power to take you to hell, because he swore to Allah that he would do that. And he's succeeding. That's why Allah said that he's going to have more followers than Allah will. Because so many of you give into that negativity. Y'all give into that evilness. Never, ever cut the tie with your Muslim brother or sister, not even for a second. And with your parents, you never cut it, not even for a minute. Does everybody understand that? Okay, so how does this hadith and its meaning impact you in your personal life? Who would like to start us off? Go ahead.
That's beautiful. I'll go, Mina. You know, that's so important right there. What if I hadn't been talking to my son and I woke up and he was dead? I'd be so messed up right now, just so messed up. And if I was a Christian and we was burying him, I would have been trying to snatch him out the casket, hollering and falling all out. You know, it's just so important. This is such a beautiful hadith. It just gives you something to really, really ponder. You know, it ain't that important. And then it ain't important long as Amina Muhammad do what Allah say do. I don't care what Sally Sue do. I'm gonna do. He say, don't break the tie. I'm gonna call and say assalamu alaikum. Or I'm gonna try to call. If you don't answer the phone, that ain't on me. I tried. Allah knows my heart and what I was trying to do. I'm the bigger person. Yes. You know, it's me. That's it.
And you get the reward. She threw another hadith. That's also part of the same hadith. The same hadith. The Prophet said, for the one who argues with his brother in faith, and you go back and greet him with salams, you get the reward, even if he doesn't return the greeting because he's angry. And I thought about Amina too, because, you know, she's experienced death like that. What if you were in her shoes? What if that had happened? You know, you haven't talked to your brother, you haven't talked to your sister, your mother, your father in a year, 2 years, 3 years, and he croaks, he dies. Now all of a sudden you crying, he was a good old man, but you ain't talked to him. Oh my, and you're denied paradise. Because why were you holding that grudge against your sibling? Over nothing. It's going to be a lot of people in hell, guys, because of this hadith here, not implementing it. Yes, go ahead, Sister Amina Antar.
Yeah, that's one thing I don't do, Layla, is I don't hold grudges. If I tell them, I said, we need to make up before we go to bed, before we leave this home. And I said, when we give salams to them, we are saying peace. But sometimes you give salam to people, they don't really like they want to really say it, but I'll say assalamu alaikum, or I try to hug them or whatever. But I want to ask you this. If your child or anything make their mother cry, what happens with that? If they really make their mother sad?
When nothing except when you make your mother sad without just cause, you've made Allah angry. Whenever we transgress limits of Allah, we make Allah angry. You're supposed to be good to your parents, guys. I make my mother cry all the time, but I make her cry out of fear of Allah. So that's a little different. I've been trying to break my mother down to tears because I know I'm going to give her that beneficial knowledge that'll cause her to look at herself and change the condition of herself to that which is pleasing. But for those people that go around just hurting their parents and deliberately, intentionally trying to hurt them, you're not going to enter paradise tree disrespecting your parents like that, guys.
So if a person continues to, just say if you have a brother and a sister and they continue to do little stuff that they continue to do stuff and you just get like tired, like, what, it's like they don't want to be bothered. What do you do with stuff like that?
What you mean they don't want to be bothered? Who don't want to be
like
bothered?
They don't want to be bothered with you, or you don't want to be bothered with them no more because of the simple fact you try all the time.
We still ain't supposed to drop you're not, only time we can break the tie with a relative is if that person is an enemy to Allah, an enemy to Islam, where that person did something to you like rape you, try to kill you or something like that. Other than that, we got to put that negative stuff aside. That's all shaitan. Remember, we talked about the jinn. That's the job of the ifrit, to try to destroy the relations of the family. If that person gets on your nerves, you just have to, make do for that person. But you can't break the tie unless that person did something to you, like rape you, try to kill you or something like that.
But you know what? I never break the tie. Like my family might say, well, you always going to that person, make it up. I said, I'm going to be the better person. I'm not going to, if they don't want to make up with me, I'll be the better person with them. You
get the reward. Like said, you get the blessing. There's nothing's wrong with that. That's what you're supposed to.
I can't worry about people are telling me whatever. I try to do it. But my main thing is trying to get my children together, because a lot of them not speaking to each other. And we used to be like a close-knit family. And as a mother, I don't like seeing that.
Right.
And it just bothers me to see that, because I said we used to be so dang close, but a lot of people, then they have like their own brothers and like they family, but they'll have their own ones they go to and talk to and all that, and not talking to the other ones. So that's just been, I've been praying on it that they get
like I say, guys, our lives are about pleasing Allah. I go through that type of drama. People try to tell me, oh, well, you got your granddaughter living with you and she talked to you that way, you to kick her out. No, I fear Allah. I don't care what you think. Does Allah say you kick a girl out? No. I'm going to handle this the way Allah said handle. If you understand what your purpose in life is, if you truly understand who your master is, if you truly understand who's in control of your future, then you could care less than jack what some peasant human being got to tell you about how you handling your problems in your life. Do you think that stuff goes in my ear and out the other? Yep, but I know better than you. Bam, I know better than you. Bam, because guess what? I don't know how you live in your life. Boom, boom, boom. It's all about what did Allah say do. Allah says just what you said. You don't break the tie. Be the bigger person, the better person, and go and greet your brother. You get so many doubled rewards for that. And that's what we need, because when death comes, you need all those rewards when you in that grave. The amount of rewards you get determines whether your soul gonna be in the green bird or your soul gonna be in that fire.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I be trying to do the right thing.
Yeah, you are. Just keep doing it. Don't care what the people say. Just like it goes in one ear, out the other, what they say about me and mine. Yeah, you sure probably couldn't deal with what I deal with. Just like I can't deal with what you deal with, but I'm gonna keep dealing with what I deal with the way Allah said deal with it until Allah say otherwise. Thank you, but no thank you, and keep it moving.
Sister Layla.
Yes, go ahead, Sister.
I had an incident with my father at one point where me and my children, because sometimes of course I take visits and take the kids over to my dad so he can see his grandchildren. So I had one over there. I took my kids, and you know how grandparents, they sometimes, not sometimes, but they always, when they come in the house, they say they were gone and their grandkids are there. They always want to bring a treat or something that they can hand over to their grandbabies. And that's just a natural gestures that they do. So when my dad had came in, I was already there visiting. He just came in from doing his work because he owned his own business. And then he brought some little gummies, some little gummies to my children. And then when he was trying to hand it out to them, I just kindly asked my dad, can I see it? So I looked at the back of the ingredients and I made sure that it didn't contain any pork, ingredients in it. So when I flipped over to try to look at it, my dad went like he was very angry and started raising his voice and even called me out of my name, insulted me, insulted the religion and everything like that. Well, I know that he is ignorant to, the religion as well. He doesn't know any better because he doesn't even know what he claims. So I just took it as like, I kind of like walked away. I walked out because it kind of made me a little angry as well. So I didn't think that was a good setting for me at the moment. So I just took my kids and I walked out. And then I just let things for a little bit, calm down. And then we had like a sit down afterwards, after a few days, we had a sit down and it was apologies. My dad apologized to me for, saying certain things he shouldn't have said. And I also apologized, even though he said those things, he the one that first raised his voice, but still, even though he raised his voice at me, he's still my father. I shouldn't have ever, raise my voice. So of course, at the heat of the moment, I did kind of raise it a little bit because I was trying to get him to hear me because he was talking so loud. So then I went on and I just, at that meeting, I told my dad, well, Dad, I apologize if I said anything, that offended you or anything of that way. And then I kind of like explained to him the reason why, Dad, I was trying to explain to you why I was looking at the ingredients in the bag because I had to be cautious for myself and my children in reference to, our belief, and what we should and shouldn't do. So that was the reason, but then we made amends and still today, although my dad still feels a certain type of way about me being Muslim, I still, I still call him. I still say, I love you, Dad. I still say, I still go visit him. We still have a good relationship. I didn't let that really, sever our relationship. I just overlook and keep it moving.
You handled it perfectly. The way she handled that is how we handle it. You did the right thing, just leaving, getting the kids and leaving, everything, the whole way you handled that, then later sitting down, discussing it, apologizing, but being firm, letting him know that this is our belief. That's the way we handle disputes. That was per the sunnah, the way you handled that. And that's how you handle any type of conflict with your parents. That's the way it's supposed to be. And may Allah bless you for that. And that's how we handle that, guys. You don't cut the tie. You don't get angry and say, I ain't taking my kids over there no more. And blah, blah. You do just the way you handle that. May Allah bless you. And may Allah guide your family to accept Islam. Ameen. That was perfect. Anybody else? That's the way we handle it, guys. Yeah, so this is a wonderful hadith, guys. The only time that we can cut that tie and not deal is if they are enemies, fighting like Habiba. Habiba was the wife of the Prophet. Who was her father? Abu Sufyan. Before Abu Sufyan converted to Islam, he was one of the leaders of the Quraysh. He was one of the ones that fought against the Prophet and the companions, fought against Islam. When Abu Salama came to visit her, she told him, you can't come in my house. He said, I'm your father. She said, you are the enemy to Allah. You are an enemy to the Prophet. You cannot sit in the house of the Prophet. And she slammed the door in his face. That's the only time that we don't owe that to them parents, is if they tell you to do something that contradicts Islam, or they are enemies to Allah, enemies to the Prophet, enemies to Islam. Other than that, we handle stuff the same way that Rosemary handled that situation with her father. Okay. I want to thank everybody for
Oh,
joining.
I was
Go
trying
ahead.
to.
Go ahead.
Can you hear
Sabrina.
me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, excuse me. I was trying to speak then, but okay. Assalamu alaikum. I'm sorry, I forgot. I got distracted.
Walaikum assalam.
Um, if anybody knows about this, is me, because I have seen it with other families too. Other families where parents run and really run behind their children, their adult children even, and try to get them to build a relationship with them, and the child just don't want to be bothered, and I see a lot of this going on, even in the Muslim community, and I remember this imam said it really hurt him. One day he came out and he saw a young man, boy, really wasn't even an adult yet, and he was cursing out his mother, So, I mean, this is something that is getting worse. I remember seeing a young girl, her and her mother had an argument, and about something, and then her mother died. And she felt so bad because the last conversation that she had with her mother, she had cursed her out. And when her mother died, the girl felt so bad, but it was too late. So, and she was with guilt so bad that she even became suicidal. She didn't commit suicide, but it was really a great toll on her. And a lot of times parents try to build a relationship with their children. I have one daughter that doesn't even talk to me, and she does not like Islam, and she was born and raised in Islam, and none of her friends are Muslim or anything. And I used to always try to talk to her, call her, text her, everything, but she wouldn't speak to me. Pretty soon I said, well, what can I do? What can I do? If she's not going to pick up the phone and she sees she has call waiting and she sees my number, then I'm not responsible for that. All I can do is take it to Allah, which I have.
What do you do, guys? That's a good question. What do you do in a situation like that? You have a daughter and you are trying to call her. She wants nothing to do with you. She won't answer her phone. What do you do? What does Islam teach us to do in that case? Anybody know?
I don't know what Islam teaches us to do. I can't recall. But for me, if one of my daughters didn't speak to me, I have to check me out, see what I did first, because it's something I know I done did, apologize, and still keep calling her whether she pick up or not, because I'm not going to die and not do what Allah said do. That's me, Amina.
That's the answer. That's
Well,
what
in this case, it wasn't even like that. It was like, I asked her. It wasn't like, I don't even know, what could I used to just wonder, what could I have done? Because she, out of all the children, I never did anything to her, and I asked her. I asked her why one day, because I just had to know why she was like this. And she told me, because you're different.
Yeah. Okay, but that's the question was, what do we do if this person, let's say in a scenario, there's a child out there that we have, like say I have a daughter, she doesn't call me, I don't hear from her. What does Islam teach us to do, guys? Because if
You
not,
gotta still keep those ties. You gotta still keep calling her. You just gotta keep the ties. You can't break
Exactly.
them.
You cannot break the tie. Islam
And suppose you don't have their number or
Okay,
address.
wait a minute. Let me answer this first. What does Islam teach us? You don't break the tie. So if you call her and she don't pick up the phone, when that answer machine comes on, what do? You leave a message. Assalamu alaikum. This is your mother. I'm just calling, first of all, to remind you, because remember, as Muslims, we remind you that I am your mother. And there are certain rights that Allah said, because, that you owe me. Number two, I'm calling to let you know I love you. Number three, I would love for you to call me back. But if you don't, hey, I'm the bigger person and I'm going to keep blowing up your phone, whether you answer it or not. And you hang up. That's it. Because when you in that grave, guys, Allah is going to ask you. You are held accountable. He's going to say, why didn't you do anything to mend that relationship? You knew that the kinship is under the throne. Why did you not make the attempt to mend it? You could have at least left the messages, called at least once a month. And we had a sister here go through that. One of our regulars, I'm not gonna mention her name because she's not in here. Is she in here, Rick? Oh, I just said it. Well, anyway, we had a sister go through that, one of my regulars. Her mother wouldn't talk to her. It was her mother. So I told her, just call once a month and leave a message on her machine. So that way you've done your job. Guess what? After so many times of her leaving messages, her mother finally called her. But we have to still make the attempt. We just cannot sit there and let the tide just kindle off, because that means both of y'all are held accountable. What if you do if you don't? Let's answer that. What do you do if you don't know her number, guys? What does Islam teach us to do if you can't get in touch with that mother or that sister or that daughter?
Go to the
We ask around.
Yeah, you ask around. You still have to make the attempt to find out how to get in touch with that person.
And what if you do all of that?
And you
gotta still keep doing it.
And because they're friends, you don't know they're friends because they're no longer Muslim. They're no longer Muslim, and they let you know that they're no longer Muslim.
Nobody.
It don't matter.
But what can I do? If you don't have no way to contact them whatsoever.
There was a hadith where I remember there was a companion whose mother wanted to give her a gift, and the companion was like, "Oh, I'm not going to accept it because we're not the same faith." And the prophet said, "You still got to accept her gift, so you still got to keep on trying."
Exactly.
But if you don't know that's what I'm saying. Suppose you don't even know where they are.
Well, you still have to do just like Norto. You got to make the effort, Sabrine, to find out where she is.
Suppose you've done all that. That's what I'm saying.
You got to still keep trying. You got to get in the phone book. You got to do Google searches. You got to call everybody that you know in your family, in her family. Has anybody seen her? Call her jobs. You have to make the effort. That's what Norto is saying. And that's
I hear what she's saying.
But that's what you do. You got to get busy.
But suppose you've done all of that.
Okay, well, if you did everything,
and you don't know, you don't even know if she's still in the city or state.
Okay, Sabrine, if we talking about your daughter, don't you say you know that she worked for the government?
I'm not talking about the one you know.
Okay, it's another one?
Yes.
What happened with this one?
This one don't practice Islam and she don't like Muslims.
Can't stand her mama.
This ain't the one that worked for the government?
Yeah.
This a different one? This ain't the one that worked for the government?
This is the one that worked for the government.
That's the easy way to find her. Guess what? If she worked for the government, her name is public, like mine is. You can Google us and get our paycheck, our phone number, where we live. Write her name, and there it is. Boom, it pops up. That's the easiest one to find. The phone drops. If she worked for the government, she's a civil service employee. We are public records for people. Google our name and everything about us pops up. Even how much we make each year. So that means you ain't made the effort.
So try that.
About that one, excuse me, I got the mic. I'm gonna keep it real. Y'all want to go there? We going there. If it's you got to make the attempt like Norto. If she works for the government, then you get finding out her name, you got her name because you her mama. She can't change her name to be with the government. You can find out where she live and her phone number, or even call her job and ask to speak to her. Okay, and then you follow that procedure like Norto said. If she don't want to take your calls, you leave messages. Messages at least once a month.
Done too.
Well, you do it until you die. That's what Allah say. You don't do it one time. Huh? What happened? Y'all hear that? Y'all understand? And I'm not talking about Sabrina. This is for any Muslim on this planet. This is what the Prophet said. This is our religion. You leave a message once a month, so that way if Allah take your soul, you go in that grave clean. Allah, you know I tried to mend that relationship with my daughter. You know Allah, I called and left messages every month. You can't say I did it 15, 20 years ago. One time.
No.
This is a lifetime until the day
I used to call her more than once a month. I used to call her
you just said you didn't know how to talk to her.
I know how to, it's the parent, it's not always the parent's fault.
We ain't talking about the parents' fault. We talking about Islam. What do you do?
In Islam, what can I do? What can I do? She doesn't answer the calls. She doesn't speak to me.
Then you leave messages for her.
Of course.
What?
You
said you didn't know how to call her.
No, I said when I was calling her before she got all that changed. I left messages all the
time. Well, it all starts over. It never ends. It all starts over. You continue to keep that relationship. You don't just say, I tried for a little while, Allah. Allah says, why did you stop? When I told you the kinship is under my throne, the one thing that will keep any of us from paradise is severing the tie of kinship. All our prayers, all our good deeds in vain. You have to make the attempt, people. We cannot allow Shaitan to cut our relationships off with each other and especially our families. Because you did it one time. You got to do it every day until the day you die. If you want to be right with Allah.
Sister Layla.
Yes.
Does that include like the whole chain of your family? Like, let's say you got a whole bunch of cousins, your uncles, your
uncle. The uncle is like the father. Yep, your uncles, your aunts, your grandparents. We don't cut the ties with none of our, even your cut. We don't cut it. Now, if you got to relate, that don't mean you got to call everybody up once a month. I'm talking about cutting the tie. Y'all know what cut the tie means? That means we don't talk, we don't see, we haven't had no communication. We have nothing to do with each other. I'm mad at her or she's mad at me and I'm not trying to mend the relationship. Of course, we got millions of cousins we don't talk to, but you know, we on good terms with them. Cutting the relationship means not being on good terms no more. Okay? So in her case, like this case of Sabrina, this is a mother and daughter. How are you going to go without talking? Now, you know Islam ain't about that. That's mama and daughter. That ain't cousins. Kissing cousins. You got to keep making that effort. You got to keep making that effort. You got to keep calling her and leaving messages. You done did your job. But if you don't do it once, it's got to go on until you die. Then Allah is going to hold her accountable after that. But if you don't do it now, y'all both, the Prophet said both will be denied. This is different. This is mom and daughter. Yes, go ahead, Norto.
My mic is not well, but I'm just going to go ahead and say some parents fail to realize the much hurt they put through their kids, and they're not truthful with themselves when it comes to their kids. They think, oh, whatever I say goes. Doesn't matter if I'm, because I've seen parents where they would tell their kids to disobey Allah, and they think, oh, since you're not, and I know that, you know, Allah comes first but some parents fail to realize that not everything is about you, that they don't have the time to understand their children. They're like, they don't have the time to sit with the children. They don't even give the rights to their children. It's always about the rights of the parents, the parents, the parents.
Right.
I'm like, but y'all also, while they're ignoring their own children, sometimes we need to be honest with ourselves. Are you doing the things Allah even told you to do with your children? No, you're
Exactly.
not. And then you want to,
Exactly.
there is no way in heck, Miss Layla, you try so hard as a parent to be close to your child, and your child just like, you have to do something to your child while they don't want nothing to do with you. We're not going to sit here and act like, oh, my child just decided to just not talk to me out of the blue. There is no way. Like for me, my mom drives me insane, but I love that lady to my death, you know? And like, I'll do anything for that lady except of course disobey Allah, you feel me? But like, we need to be honest with each other as parents. What are you doing? What did you do to your child? Why don't we apologize? Why is it so hard for us to say, I'm sorry, like I'm wrong? I feel like parents think they're like, sometimes they think they're like in such a high status where they think they can do no wrong. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, you know, as parents, we think this a child supposed to come to us. No, I can relate to that because I got some issues like that with mine. You know, you mad at me? You know, you think that I'm supposed to come to you? It's a two-way street. You got rights and I got rights. Maybe that child ain't calling you because that child feels like you don't care about her because you ain't made no attempt in however long to get in touch with her. Maybe that child is waiting on you to reach out. You know, we never know. But the bottom line is, that's why the prophet said all these maybes happen because we done allowed the bond to break. That's why we're not supposed to let it break. So we have, Islamically, this is what we do. We got to keep trying. I remember just not too long ago, my mother was angry at me, and I still don't understand why. Y'all remember, I kept calling her and calling her. She would never answer the phone, never answer the phone, never answer the phone. My mother went, what, a month? A month? And I started leaving her messages. And then finally she answered. And I had to tell her, look, you don't break the tie with me. You don't do that. You're my mother, but good God, we both Muslims and we supposed to know this deen. You know, so as a parent, guys, it's the same way. You know, my daughter don't call me. My daughter don't check on me unless she wants something.
Your house.
Yeah, but I call her. I'll call her. Y'all see me. Hold on. Let me call this heifer. Hey, I'm your mama. If you don't call me back, that's on you. But I did my job. Then she'll call back maybe a week later. What do you need? You know, it's a two-way street. These are the rights of family that we owe to each other. The parents have to try to keep that relationship going, and the children have to try too. It ain't about I gave birth to you, so you kiss my behind and honor me, but I don't give you no respect. That ain't how it go. And it's your job as a parent. All of us, I'm a parent too. It's our job as parents, like Norto said, to find out what's going on with the kid. Something's going on because that's against the nature of man. Allah says in the Quran that every child likes to be nurtured by his mother. That's how Allah created us. The child has an attachment to the mother that's greater than their attachment to the father. Allah said that. If you got a child that's cutting you off, that's not wanting anything to do with you, what did you do to it? Like Norto said, there's a reason, because this is going against the nature of man. The mama, the child doesn't pull back from her unless that child something's happened. You got to talk to that child, find out what. Y'all understand? This is Islam. Yes, Brother Ammar, go ahead.
Okay, I just want to add, like, you need a lot of patience to deal with your parents, especially when one of your parents are sick. I just want to share my story. Like, when my dad don't tell me like he wants to go to toilet and he just do it. He just do it in the bed, and which used to make me very angry, and I really felt bad. But I made dua to Allah that please help me to deal with it, and Allah helped me. I mean, that's trying to say you can make dua for it, whatever it does, and He will help you. and I don't get angry now.
Exactly. This is a good point that Ahmad is bringing up. But the dua alone ain't enough, guys. You got to remember, Allah does not change the condition of the person until you make an attempt to change the condition of yourself. Let's say, for example, my daughter doesn't want to be bothered with me, which I go through with her all the time. My daughter hates me. She does. It's the truth. She'll tell you. She misses her daddy. She wished it had been me to die instead of her daddy. That's what my daughter told me that. I make dua, but I just don't make dua. I'm actively calling her too. Hey, what's up, Chindani? I'm your mama. You gonna come see me? I'm busy. I got things to do. What are you doing? Your supplications are nothing, guys, unless we're following it up with the action, trying to change the situation, to make the situation better. But if I'm gonna sit there, she mad at me, I'm mad at her, and I'm just praying, Allah, please bring me and my daughter close. Allah ain't accepting that, because his thing is, what are you doing, Layla, to get close to her? Are you reaching out to her? You got more knowledge than she do. You know she ain't practicing right. You know she's messed up in the head. You're supposed to be the one of intelligence. Call her on the phone. Make the attempt. Y'all understand? That dua don't work unless you're following up with a change. Change, guys. Allah ain't helping us unless we trying to help ourselves. Yeah, go ahead, Antar.
No, I didn't say anything. I was listening.
Mic open as usual.
In case I'm trying to make it easy in case I do want to say something. But no, I'm just listening to what you're saying.
Yeah, we got to make the change too. The dua is nothing. The dua has no power unless you have action to go with it. Otherwise, we just praying. And Allah is like, what are you doing to change it? What are you doing to make it better? And I'm gonna tell you, a lot of us older sisters here, myself, we got problems with our kids. It's hard raising kids in the USA. You raise them Muslim, they grow up and take on their own mind and their own life. But do we give up? Nope. We have to still keep trying. We have to still physically reach out. What did the prophet say? Change it with your hand if you can first. If you can't with your hand, then with your tongue. Only when you can't do nothing do we make dua. And that's the least step. A lot of our problems with our kids can be changed, like Amina said, with our tongue, by talking to them. Like Norto said, by sitting down with them. And like I said, by physically dialing a phone number. Maybe they waiting to hear from you. You never know, but we just can't say, oh, I'm just gonna pray and just let it go. No, we gotta make that change, man in the mirror. And sometimes the reality and the truth ain't nothing pleasant to look at, but we have to face it. And it's a hurtful thing for a parent to do. I know, because I'm dealing with that. All right, any other questions or comments on this topic? This is a good topic. We need to make this a topic for discussion, how to deal with these kids. All right, I want to thank everybody for joining and participating in this session. Remember, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, let me put it back up here. A child could never repay his parents what he owes them unless he were to find them in slavery, buy them and free them. But life is a two-way. What makes Islam so beautiful is it's a balance, a check and balance. Allah doesn't give too much power to one person and not enough to another. Just like there's a balance between husband and wife, there's a balance between parent and children. We both have to maintain that tie of kinship. Neither one of us can sever it. If one ain't reaching out, the other has to. For us both to sit there and let it stay like it is, we both are doomed when we in that grave. And that's why Allah sends calamities upon us too, guys. Remember that other hadith we talked about. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, look for the days in which the children will deprive their parents of their rights, and the parents will deprive their children of their rights. When this happens, expect to see calamities befalling the Muslims. You know, a lot of us go through hardships in life because we don't understand the sacredness of that kinship tie. I know why it's under the throne. For years, I couldn't figure out why, about all of our relationships, why would Allah put the family under the throne? Now I see. Because when I moved back here to Cleveland, that's when my drama began. My biggest trial, my granddaughter, my daughter, my mother, my brothers who don't want to talk to me. But I make that attempt. I'm always leaving messages. I'm always text messaging. I'm always trying. Okay? Now I see why it's under the throne. Because out of every relationship, the hardest one to keep is the family. It's easier to keep a husband's relationship, but just toss him into the trash and keep it going, but you can't toss your family. I see why anyone that can maintain that tie is a person that can make it to paradise, because it's hard. All right, I want to thank everybody for participating. Make sure everybody is here for the classes tomorrow. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik.